Okay, now we've done calorie, protein, and carbohydrate. Now we're going to look at lipid requirements. So lipids and fats, same thing. No, a lot of people get freaked out with the word fat, so I actually prefer the word lipid for a lot of people. But we need to certainly include them in the diet because they're really misunderstood and undervalued. And they're critical for optimal health. But a lot of people will also take this the other way and say that having a ton of them will improve hormonal health. And it's not the case. They don't work like anabolic steroids at all. So we'll go into that a little bit. Fat are the ones where fat is a macronutrient that once you hit that point, then having more doesn't necessarily offer more benefits. It's very similar to hydration, whereas once you're hydrated, you can't get more hydrated, where a lot of people will then blow up their water intake really, really high. So why it's important? It's necessary for producing our hormones, such as our steroid hormones, which are testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. And these hormones influence everything: muscle growth, fat storage, mood, stress. They're really, really involved in a ton of key processes. And if we don't have our adequate fat intake, we may struggle to maintain hormonal balance, and that will lead to impact on performance, recovery, and overall health. Um, a lot of the time with females who go really, really low fat, they lose their menstrual cycle. For men who go really, really low fat, they lose their libido and their ability to function that way. So fats we need to have at that certain level to make sure that we don't compromise those functions with our clients. And for all general population clients, these are things that I would say are things that we don't want to lose with them. If we're working with a physique competitor at the final stages of their competition, then sure, absolutely, these things can happen. Same with elite athletes, it is part of the risk that they take becoming elite. But for general population clients, absolutely not out of the question. Now, fats, we also have essential fatty acids, which we cannot produce. So it's very similar to essential amino acids. We cannot produce a couple of fatty acids. And these are omega-3s and omega-6s. And also, we can make an argument for omega-9s. Omega-3s are vital for reducing inflammation, support brain function, improving heart health. We see these in omega-3 supplements, obviously, but also fatty fish and certain plant sources. We also have omega-6 fatty acids, which are essential for health because they're involved in the skin, metabolism, inflammation, and cell structure, and these are found with vegetable oils. Most people are overabundant in omega-6 and deficient in omega-3s. And in the 10 to 25K trainer, we're going to be going over all the different tests that you can do to identify someone's essential fatty acid balance, and then also how you can help them get there. For the vast majority of clients, just having omega-3s 2 to 3 times a week in the diet is going to be a massive impact on their results. Okay. Now from there is fat also is a structural component of every cell. So if we don't have enough fats, we're going to have problems. We cannot maintain integrity and function optimally, and this is important for muscle cells. So it's zero fat is a bad idea. It is an essential nutrient, and it's also needed for absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. A, D, E, and K are fat soluble, so they are best absorbed when consumed with fat, and they're really important for immunity, bone health, skin health, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if we don't have fat, our body will struggle to absorb these. So with people who are dieting really seriously and dropping a ton of weight, deficiencies in vitamin D and K, they're going to lead to bone density issues. People who are eating low fat and low in vitamin E are going to have skin problems, and people who are low in vitamin A and D are going to have immune problems. And this is simply be rectified by increasing dietary fat. Very, very simple, but something that a lot of people don't look at when they look at why they're constantly getting sick, why their bones are brittle, and why their skin sucks. Lack of good quality dietary fats. Now, with energy storage, fat is also a very efficient way to store energy. In fact, it is the most efficient way. Now, fats are an energy reserve that can be mobilized when carbohydrates are depleted, and this is exactly what happens in aerobic training. When someone's going for a run, for example, they'll go to about 7 minutes and they'll hit that little wall where they feel, and then all of a sudden fat metabolism will kick in and they'll be able to keep on going. We see the same thing with not eating, where if people don't eat for a long period of time, what happens is fat starts supplying the fuel for what they're doing. So that's the wrong slide. That's okay. We can skip that. So with setting fat intake, how much is enough? It's the easiest one to do and the least complicated to manage. 20 to 30% all body weight in kilos seems to work out to be quite good for most people. It's a really, really simple one to have. I like the body weight in kilos because what it does, it also gives you a range to go up and down in manipulating that fat for body composition goals. So if I have a client who is, I might grab my calculator here for the maths, is 80 kilos, and I've got them on 1 gram of fat per kilo body weight, they're going to have 80 grams of fat or 720 calories from fat per day. Okay, 80 times 9, we can check that, 720, fantastic. I could drop them down to half, okay? So I could drop them down to 40 times 9, and that's 360 calories. So we can actually chop that fat in half, 360 calories, and still have adequate fat for optimal hormonal function for that person. So it's a really nice, easy way to do that. Now, fat intake, it's not just about total quantity. Quality and timing are really important. So you don't want to be getting them all from butter or for donuts. So we have a couple different types of fats. We have polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, saturated, and trans. Monos are the healthiest. They improve blood cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and lower risk of heart disease. Sources of olive oil, avocado, nuts. A lot of those, healthy foods in the Mediterranean diet are full of monounsaturated fats, and they should make up probably the largest portion of your fat intake. Polyunsaturated fats are the omega-3s and 6s, essential for heart health, brain function, and inflammation. Again, fatty fish, certain plants, supplements, and vegetable oils will have a fairly high amount of omega-6s. We just need to get the ratio right, but we can go into that later. With saturated fats, often misunderstood, the link between them and heart disease isn't necessarily as clear-cut as what we thought it would be. So animal products are the best source of saturated fats as well as tropical oils. We still want to keep them in moderation, but we also want to make sure we don't omit them totally because they are important for the formation of our steroid hormones. So saturated fats are really important for that formation of steroid hormones. So we always want to keep a little bit in the diet. Now, trans fats, these are unhealthy fats. These are things found in processed foods, baked goods, fried foods. Donuts are a great source of them. Deep fried chips are a great source of them. They raise LDL, increase the risk of heart disease. We know that these ones are bad. We know where they're from. I don't really need to go into it too much. So timing our fat intake, less critical to protein and carbohydrates. I just use a couple of different ways to do it. Fats and carbohydrates in a meal can increase satiety in our meals that aren't around the workout window. So if you're going to have a salad, some veggies, and put some olive oil, some avocado or nuts in it, that's going to be a great way to improve satiety and keep someone full for a long period of time. Fats around the workout, I generally don't like it around there. I can't imagine doing a workout after having a big fatty meal or having a whole bunch of avocado on toast, for example. Probably wouldn't feel too great. So around the workout window, we do it based on someone's comfort. Okay. So fats plays a ton of roles. We know how much we need to do. We know what ones we need to prioritize in our diet. Just simply doing that is enough for our clients. And if they track it, they'll find they get really good results anyway. And then looking at having some omega-3 balance in the diet will help most people get the most out of fats. The key thing to remember is that fats, more is not better. And the example I was going to use is some people have said since saturated fats increase testosterone production, having higher levels of saturated fats will increase testosterone production to supraphysiological levels. It's simply not the case. Testosterone can only be produced by the body endogenously to the level that the body can actually produce it. So it's not a matter of having more raw material there. It's simply it doesn't have enough people doing the labor to make more and more testosterone. And this is a mistake that you see a ton of influencers making on social media. So if your clients say that, use an analogy similar to that to discourage them from doing that type of stuff.